There's a moment in almost every conversation I have about the mechanical mind where someone says, oh, I've heard something like this before. And they have, because the truth underneath this framework has been pointed at for a very long time, but by very wise people from very different traditions. You are not your thoughts. The observer is not the observed. You are the sky, not the clouds. Watch the mind like you're watching traffic from a window. These are beautiful ideas, and every single one of them has the same problem. They work perfectly when the weather is good. But at 2 a.m., when the loop has been running for 3 hours, and the thoughts are loud, and the feeling in your chest is real and heavy, telling yourself you're the sky while you're standing in the middle of the storm doesn't help. In fact, it makes it worse, because then the mind gets new material. If I'm the sky, why does this feel like a hurricane? If I'm so aware, why does it still hurt? If I'm the observer, why can't I just observe my way out of this? And now you're not just in the loop, you're in a loop about why you can't get out of the loop, which is exactly what the machine wanted. So let me offer you something different, not better than those traditions. They were pointing at something real, but just more specific, more mechanical, more honest about what's actually happening when the storm hits. So think of it like this. The mechanical mind is the vehicle. The ego is the driver. And the loop is the track. The driver's job, the only job it has ever had, is to keep the vehicle moving. Forward, backward, it doesn't matter. Moving is the point. Stillness is the threat. Because a vehicle that stops running is a vehicle that might not start again. And 2 million years of survival programming cannot afford that risk. So the driver finds a track, any track. The unresolved conversation from last Tuesday, the decision you almost made and didn't, the scenario that hasn't happened yet but might, the memory of a thing that went wrong 3 years ago that is suddenly very relevant at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. These are the tracks, and the driver doesn't care which one it's on as long as it's moving. Now here's what makes this particularly interesting. The tracks have categories. Every loop, every recurring thought pattern, every 2 a.m. spiral, every argument you've had with yourself that never reaches a verdict traces back to one of 5 prehistoric survival programs. They are survival, tribal belonging, hierarchy, scarcity, legacy. The driver doesn't invent new tracks. It runs the same 5 circuits in different costumes. The anxiety about money is scarcity wearing a spreadsheet. The need for approval that follows you into rooms you've been in 1,000 times is tribal belonging wearing a social situation. The achievement that never quite satisfies, the success that should have felt like arrival but somehow just revealed the next mountain, that's legacy keeping the engine running. It's the same driver, same 5 tracks, different costumes every time. And here's the thing about watching a driver go around a track. You don't have to stop the car. You don't have to become the sky. You don't have to transcend the weather. You don't have to meditate your way to stillness or think your way to peace or use the right technique at the right moment. You just have to recognize, even briefly, even imperfectly, that you're not the one behind the wheel. The driver found a track. The vehicle is moving and the fuel is burning. And you, the one watching this happen, you're not in the car. You never were. The moment of recognition, that brief clear seeing of the driver doing what the driver does, that's the glimpse. Not enlightenment, not a permanent state, not the storm ending. Just the sudden awareness that you are the one watching the storm, not the storm itself. And something happens to the charge when that becomes visible. It's not gone, not resolved, just smaller. The driver loses the one thing it needs to keep the loop running at full volume, your complete identification with it. Now I want to talk about something specific, because this framework, the mechanical mind, the 5 bases, the named programs, is genuinely powerful, and powerful things have a shadow side. In the next part of this video, I'm going to talk about what happens when this knowledge gets used the wrong way. Not by accident, but by design. I've watched it happen in the NLP world. I watched it happen in a video just last week. And I've watched it happen in business, in the room, in the pitch, in the negotiation, more than I can count. The difference between using this framework to help someone see clearly and using it to drive them around a track they didn't choose is the most important line in everything I teach. And it starts with a story from when I was 20 years old knocking on doors.